Welcome to Sibya I.T. with Kuya JT. It is now the 23rd of October 2020 and we are on our 27th episode. That's Leo. 27th episode. Sorry, guys. We're now on 27th episode sa Sibya I.T. with Kuya JT. Now, kagapon nag-discuss ta sa the use of information technology to educate ourselves, not only our children, but even those who are senior citizens. You know why? Kung di ka mo-educate sa mga kagalingon, you will feel bored. Bored. Diba? Makuan ka, because the human being is an intellectual being. Obsessed about an intellectual being. That means to say, our main function are intellectual activities. Of course, we eat, we drink, but these are supplementary functions. Our main function is to think. We analyze, we appreciate, we apprehend the data that is being given to us by our senses. The sense of touch, even our sixth sense. So, in order for us during this pandemic not to become bored, if possible, if you have the internet connection, if you have the computer, you have the smartphone, if possible, try to educate yourself. It will enhance your quality of life. Because while you're watching TV, you're watching Netflix, you're watching YouTube, you're watching educational documentaries or lectures by professors, it will sort of fill a void in your mind. We feel that void, we feel that emptiness, we feel that boredom with intellectual input. I'm not saying it has to be calculus, it has to be differential equations, it has to be integrated circuits. Even watching movies, watching YouTube, watching documentaries, it enhances our quality of life in a sense, in a way, by giving our information-hungry brain something to process. Exactly. So, yesterday we discussed how we can use YouTube, as I mentioned to you, to replace our professors. Naman ito yung reklamo nga. Wala lang tayo professor ani GT. Nagyan pa tayo professor. The professors will be our proctors. They will give us examinations. They will give us the syllabus. In fact, I've been thinking about this for more than 10 years already. In fact, I wanted I wanted to create my own channel, right? And I have a channel now. I started in April. That's the Solver channel. I'm going to enhance it. I just lost track because there are so many distracting activities. In fact, my plan for a very long time, my plan was for the deep end to adopt a standard set of videos discussing topics, or maybe a playlist of videos, so that the education for everybody in the deep ed is standardized. So the deep ed will come up with the best videos to discuss this particular topic. As I said, for example, the Riemann sum. For the Riemann sum should be for usual Riemann sum should be senior high. Grade 12, senior high, the Riemann sum, that's the calculus. So, or Fourier series. There will be an expert conducting topics, lectures on that. And this will be standardized, and this will be the standard depth ed. So the teachers in the barangay They don't need to conduct their own lectures. Really na. Let the students go to that particular YouTube channel of the DepEd. And this is our standard lecture on the Fourier series or on the Riemann sum. Of course, the Riemann sum should be, the lecture should be thoroughly analyzed and discussed. That it's the perfect lecture. Di ba? Okay, I'm trying to reply. Now, standardized using information technology. So the teacher in Barangay Nangka, in Leyte, they don't have to come up with their own lectures anymore. It's standardized. So you can now standardize chemistry, mathematics, physics, trigonometry, statistics, calculus, algebra, all of these things. Why is there duplication if there are... I can't understand this. DepEd, are you listening? If the regional director is discussing, is listening now, and there are only what, 14 or let's say there are 16 regional directors. So when you will have a regional directors meeting, there are only 16 of you. You tell this to Briones. Why are we, if there are 50,000 barangays, and each barangay is a school. Huh? If there are 50,000 barangays, and each barangay has a school, and each school has a high school, just say yes, a high school, or even elementary school. At grade 6, you already have this advanced trigonometry, arithmetic. Why do you let 50,000 teachers throughout the country create their own lectures on the multiplication or on the long division? Why? Isn't that stupid? Isn't that nonsensical? All you have to do is really, we will provide the connectivity. That's the target there, connectivity, but the content, it should be standardized. It should be standardized. And that has been my project in my mind all along. So right now, my project is to solve problems, not to conduct a lot of lectures, but to solve different problems on the same topic. That's my goal. And that's exactly what the DepEd information technology strategy should be. A standardized set of videos on the standard topics. If you have lectures on the Constitution, standardize it. Right? Standardize it. If you cannot standardize it, then you will have no standard education. And if you're worried about the advanced students, then create topics for advanced students. In fact, you don't have to create anymore. It's already currently right now, right this minute on YouTube. The lectures already in YouTube. Maybe what you do is you look at the best in YouTube and you improve it. So you're the best of the best. You don't have to waste all that salary teachers, salary time, and salary for the teachers, the teachers' time, and the teachers' effort. You don't have to waste it by reinventing the wheel every semester. And in fact, I talked to one of my friends' child now in grade 12. So there are some teachers now who are just giving them a playlist of videos to watch. And that's, for me, that's good. You watch this video, you watch that video, you watch that video, that's good. Because most likely those videos, they're explained better than your teachers. Diba? What do you think? So, kamong naminaw to da sa YouTube, sa Facebook, by the way, nga to mas YouTube sa para madaghan sad ang atong subscribers sa YouTube. At sa mas YouTube, para daghan atong subscribers sa YouTube. Og naminaw to si Irene Vilvar, si Felipe Mendoza of Talomban, Dory K from Cordoba, Enrique Aliens from Asap, Valencia, and si Doris Maturan watching from Cordoba. By the way, not to town was YouTube. Uy! And by the way, when you go to YouTube, you set your video quality settings to 1080p, not 720, 1080p, because this broadcast is broadcast at 1080p. It will have a better quality sa makita mo sa mga background ng kayo. By the way, nakadaog mis ang dispute with Sony Music Entertainment, ha? Sony Music Entertainment. Now, Sony Music Entertainment, nagreklamo sa mga video background. Then I disputed it and I said, we have a Creative Commons license for that, CC0. Creative Commons license. And Sony actually released their claim. Kini sila, they're just using algorithm to claim. Yang katotao ba madlog ilan lagi tangtangon ng ilang episodes, tangtangon nila ang ilang videos, adlock sila sa claim sa Sony or whoever. But I disputed that claim because I'm using video materials which are covered by the CC0, Creative Commons license. Okay, so please go to YouTube, Facebook, para daghan po viewers sa YouTube. Kaya ang monetization sa YouTube mas paspas kaysa monetization sa Facebook. Okay? So please go to now. Unsa inyong comment sa akong idea na we will standardize throughout the world, throughout the country, the videos. O naamang gani, I'm sure kanang mga videos sa YouTube, mga Creative Commons license man na. So, manangin mo nga, can we use your one in one of our curriculums? Diba? Si Renato Baguio nag-minor na to. Diba? Is that okay, be? Mr. Baguio, kay ikaw mong teacher niya. High school ba na yung mong teach? Standardize it. So, ang role na lang sa teachers, kay, og di kasabot ang estudyante, by the way, he or she can replay it over and over again, and there are other alternative videos on YouTube for that, and probably better explained than your teachers. I mean, siguro mo, in English, magitibis. Nga, hindi mo mag-English, grade 11, grade 12, ang siniday na to, ang TV na to, mga American movies, di din in English. Ang imong cellphone, binisaya nila. Ang manual sa imong cellphone, kasabot na mo in English, we grow up. We grew up with it. We're the third largest, I think the second largest English-speaking country in the world. Remember, Great Britain, they have only a population of 40 million. So, kung natay 50 million out of 100 million speaking English, we're better. We are second largest speaking country in the world. Second largest, not third largest. The first largest is the US. The second is the Philippines. The third is probably the UK. Because the population of the UK is just 40 million. Ito, natin 100 million. Katunga na maging English. We're the second largest English-speaking country in the world. Ang sumang background music noon sa man na kuan ba? Kusobra? Huwag sa buta akong tanawon ha. Ang background music. Ang sa man, hinayra or kusobra? Huwag sa buta. So, please inform us on sa sabot mo sa background music. Nga, di background music ko. Siguro ka-off man ito na. Ay, ang guitar. Kusobra. Okay. Wa na ko makuhan, sorry. Nag-only ang guitar. Okay. So, sorry kayo. Okay. So, what do you think of my idea? That the DepEd should adopt a standardized set of videos for the standard topics like chemistry. I mean, siguro it has to be suited to the students. Ana naman good na. The students can replay it over and over again, and the students can be given or can be told to view other topics, other YouTube on the same topic, other YouTube videos. It's possible. You don't need that teacher anymore. Ang purpose na to sa teacher is as a proctor or the giver of examinations and the checker of examinations. Mo na trabaho sa maestro. And that's why I emphasized yesterday, and I've been saying this for 15 years. In general, 99% of the time, when I was studying for college already, I realized it in college. Actually, no. I realized it by the time I was fourth year in high school. I had revelation. You know, I saw finally what was wrong with my studying. And when I realized it, the technique is there, I said, this is it. The amount of effort to get a flat 1 grade or a 95 grade, 100 grade is almost the same. As the amount of effort you need to pass the subject. It's the same effort. The only difference is the timing difference. Are you going to study in advance or are you going to study after the exam? No, may uban paibasag yun sa pag-solve after the exam. Diba? So, I revealed to you my strategy of not relying on the teachers. And again, here's how I rationalize it. The teacher reads the textbook. The textbook, especially STEM, science, technology, engineering, math. The textbook is written by an American author. And that American author, usually Americans math, American textbook, American authors are experts in their own field, usually 20, 30 years of teaching experience. So what I'm saying is, if the teacher gets his source from the textbook and the teacher passes it on to me, then in terms of communications engineering, there's something called the information loss or the transmission loss. Because the teacher cannot channel, cannot relay to us, to the student, everything that he has read in the book. So, my idea was, I will read directly from the book as if I was the teacher. And I will read it and try to understand it with the hope of imagining in my mind that I will be discussing this in front of a classroom as if I were the teacher. So, ano ko siya pag-explain if I were the teacher? So, when I read it, ano yun pag-explain to a student who doesn't know everything. And I have what is called as the Fermi assumption. I will assume that the student has zero knowledge but infinite comprehension. Zero knowledge but infinite comprehension. What does it mean? It means that when I teach a topic, I will assume that you have zero knowledge on this topic, and I will explain it to you with everything, but I assume that you will understand it, everything. Zero knowledge but infinite comprehension. Nam sa ibang estudyante nga hamugiro kayo. Nga, kibaw na miya na sir, kibaw na mana. Oh, basic na kayong sulti. So I said, yes. But how do I know ikaw basic ang uban advanced? So, to make it fair, I start with zero knowledge and I will give you everything as if you have zero knowledge, and I will build and build and build on top of the information which I shared with you, and I will assume you understand it. I'll assume zero knowledge. But with respect to the prerequisite, I assume you have perfect knowledge on that one. Kaya mag-discuss tag calculus. Nya, di mo kibawag algebra, di na pwede. I will assume that you know your algebra. Di ba? Kung di mo kibawag yung algebra, how would I proceed? I will assume that you know algebra, but you don't know calculus. So, I assume that you don't know anything about the Riemann sum. I will tell you everything about the Riemann sum, assuming you have no knowledge about the Riemann sum. And when I explain that to you, the Riemann sum, it will be complete, but I assume also that you will understand it. Now, before, that was a big problem because the students cannot right away understand. But now with the new technology, using information technology as an educational tool, what I say can now be replayed infinitely many times. So now you will understand. But since I assume that you had zero knowledge on it, so everything you needed to understand about the Riemann sum at this level, it will be there so that you will be able to understand it. Again, if it involves algebra, I assume that you already had algebra, that you know your algebra. Because I don't keep on teaching you algebra and we're already here. So it's a prerequisite. And that's one thing I like about the Fermi principle. I got that idea from Fermi. Because Enrico Fermi, one of the greatest physicists of all time, Italian, he was called the Pope. He was an Italian physicist. He was an expert in both experimental physics and theoretical physics. So during the Manhattan Project, during the Manhattan, the complete name of that project was the Manhattan Engineer Project. The Manhattan Engineer. It was shortcut to the Manhattan. So he was with the project in Los Alamos and he would be asked, so Enrico, we have new studies now, and there will be a conference. There will be a conference. So we would like to share some ideas with you before the conference. We're talking about in the camp. My conferences are in the camp. So about new knowledge regarding splitting the atom. Because it was Enrico Fermi who split the atom. Remember this. Enrico Fermi split the atom. Einstein did not split the atom. He didn't know how to split the atom. All he knew was that if you split the atom, there will be a huge amount of energy that will be released. Because energy is converted, mass is converted into energy. And that was the equation of. But he didn't know how to actually do it. It was Enrico Fermi, who was already in the US at the time. It was Enrico Fermi who did it. Who split the atom, of course, with some of his students. So he was asked, and Enrico was also asking, okay, what are your new developments? He would go around all the departments and what are your developments? And then he said, and then the scientists, remember these are Nobel Prize winners, these are scientists of the highest rank worldwide, except the Nazi scientists and the Russian scientists. So they would be asked, Enrico would ask them, okay, before the conference, tell me what are your new developments? And the scientists would say, you know what, Mr. Fermi, Dr. Fermi, it's difficult for us to tell you because we don't know at what level we're going to tell you. Because, there are different levels of understanding of this development, and we're inventing new science here, new technology here. We don't know where to start. And Enrico Fermi said this, and I remember this, and it has been my teaching principle ever since. I call it the Fermi Compromise. I call it the Fermi Compromise. I call it the Fermi Compromise. So I said, okay. Fermi said, okay, here's what you do. Assume I have zero knowledge on the topic, but I have the infinite capability to understand. In other words, just say it. Just say what you want to say. Assume you have zero knowledge, start from scratch, and then assume that I can understand everything. So that's what I call the Fermi Compromise. Actually, I wrote an article about it in my column in Business World. The Fermi Compromise. And that so far has been my guideline in teaching. So may ibang estudyante mo, kiba na mi ana, go forward, move forward. I don't like that attitude because later on, mga tanan sa magbalik. I assume zero knowledge, but infinite comprehension. And now, this has been my teaching principle when I was conducting finance, like financing. I have students who are CPAs with 15, 20 years experience. Students of my accounting seminar for non-accountants. But still, they join because they're interested. They're curious. Then I tell them, okay, I'll assume zero knowledge on your part. I assume you don't know anything about counting. I know you're a CPA. But I'll explain this to you so that you will see how I invented the world's fastest method to learn debit and credit. And I was able to do that. So the thing is this. The thing is this. Once I made that assumption, so I will explain it to them, giving them all the principles and ideas needed to understand the topic. So I assume you don't know this, you don't know that. But again, with respect to the prerequisite, I assume you know. I assume you have perfect knowledge on the prerequisite. So don't go into my advanced calculus class and saying, sir, I don't know differential calculus. I don't know the difference between differential calculus and differential equations. Don't do that. Because I'm not here to teach you differential calculus. I'm here to teach you differential equations. DC and DE, completely two different things. One is very easy, the one is very difficult. DE. So, when I was teaching DE, I said, okay, I will teach you DE. I'll assume you have no knowledge on DE. But if you have problem with differential calculus or integral calculus, That's not my problem anymore. That's a compromise. You should know that, because otherwise, di mo ka, enroll ani nga subject, because those are pre. Those are prerequisites. Those are prerequisites, di ba? Muna yung ano. So, emergency ko, no? Dengue. Zoom meeting, polio. Minutes. Okay. Emergency ko, no? So, if you're a teacher listening to this, siguro nag-lecture siguro mo kung teacher mo. Kung mag-review na mo sa inyong akong program, you should realize that there are many different strategies for teaching, but so far what worked for me, zero knowledge, infinite comprehension. And that's why when I tell you about it, I assume you have no knowledge about it. But I will give you all the elements needed for this, except of course the prerequisites, because I assume there are prerequisites. You know, like you don't come to a calculus class and then you don't know what is a quadratic formula and what's the quadratic formula or how to solve quadratic equations. Hindi na pwede. Mga tawag prerequisites. That's why when you study science, technology, engineering, math, you can go to law, but political science, they can never go to engineering. So, if you are a student right now listening, or parents, if possible, try to suggest to your students to take up STEM, science, technology, engineering, math. Because later on, they can study MBA, they can study law. But if you are a political science student, if you are a history student, English student, commerce student, you cannot go to science, engineering, or math. You cannot reverse. You can be a lawyer, you can be a CPA, even if you're an engineer, but from a CPA, you cannot be an engineer. It's non-commutative. So I would suggest, because, well, you want to be a broadcaster, it's possible after taking up engineering. And you can study the principles of political science, the principles of maybe broadcasting, because those are not, in a way, prerequisites. The way mathematics and engineering or science deal with prerequisites. Like magito di yang kasabot going upward, so that's what I want to share with you. Continuation ni siya sa yesterday. Yesterday was how to use information technology to be efficient, to replace your teachers practically. And of course, I don't really expect to replace your teacher, but on an individual basis, makaingon ka, I don't need a teacher anymore. And once you liberate yourself from relying on a teacher, you will learn a lot of things on your own, without relying on the teacher anymore. And information technology, especially YouTube, which is the number one right now in terms of information videos, it's easy. Now, today, we discussed with you the possibility that they should standardize their courses, their videos. Either using existing videos in YouTube, they will select the best, or they make their own. But if they make their own, you have to reinvent the wheel again. All you have to do is ask permission. Most of these, 99.9% are free. They would say, okay, please go ahead. And teachers individually are already using them. Some. But kung ako mag-teacher balik, Okay na. You watch this, you watch this, you watch that, you watch that. Exam ta 2 days from now. That's it. Kaya hindi mo kasabot na, wala na ako may pag-asa. Magiging sa una. If you cannot tackle EE, you go home and plant kamote. Joke this mga. Karaan nga professors o na 1980s nga professor, 1970s. Tawanan kayo. Diba? Okay. Alright, so salamat yung pag-iguban ka nako. Kumusta man atong mga chat diribe? Nabay nang wala. Mga chat na. Ay, dali mo gini akong kuan. Here. Yeah. Thank you. And good afternoon. Kini si Jitiben sa Sibya I.T with Kuya GT, October 23rd, 2020. Episode number. Sa may episode na to ron? Bug naman ko sa number. Episode 27. 27. By the way, kanang background to, that's my computer. The innards, the internals of my computer. Thank you and good night. Good afternoon. See you tomorrow. Friday na meron. See you on Monday. Monday ron, no? Naman sa itong Friday, October 23. And you can look at the time on the screen and the time on your computer, on your cell phone, and that's the difference, the lag between YouTube and Facebook and the real streaming. Thank you and good afternoon.